All right, guys, we're really excited. Welcome to our very first episode of I'm a Pod Star, Not a Doctor, featuring
the American Pharaoh,
and the
and
Cuff Daddy. Welcome. So what's up? Let's tell everybody about what this podcast is about, Sharif. Like, what are we doing here, right?
so I think let's start simple. Let's start with who we are. So I'm Sharif Bechet. I'm a shoulder and sports surgeon in Detroit, and just you know what, we all like to have a good time. People see who we are as doctors, but we are humans. So this shows our human side. That's why we decided to do this. And when I met my little bro here, Cuff Daddy, I was like, "This is the guy. This is the guy."
So I'm Danny Acevedo. I'm a shoulder and elbow specialist at in Los Angeles, California, and I met Sharif. So we're pretty academic. We're I don't want to say we're famous doctors, but we go to meetings. We know a lot of people, and we're very academic in the realm. But we're also regular people. So this whole podcast is just to kind of have a space to talk as a regular person, like the back bar talk with a whiskey in your hand, talking to Sharif Bashai and Danny Acevedo. This is real talk, real people, raw AF, nothing but swag. So what we're really trying to do is, just kind of showcase ourselves as people, as humans. And, we're probably going to, do a little bit of bullshitting, and you might learn something on accident.
And we may offend you, and I'm sorry. I mean, one of the things that I've always been told is, Bechet, you cannot say that. And so it's something that I've heard before. I'll hear again. And now that people can hear it whenever they want, they'll probably be texting me and calling me and also telling me that I can't say that. However, it needs to be said. So I think we can start by saying, like, how did Danny and I get together? So it's kind of an interesting story. It's like the first time I see this guy, I'm sitting in a bar in Atlanta at a meeting, and as I'm sitting there, this little dude just comes like Mario Kart through the bar and he's like, give me tequila. I was like, who is this little kid? And I'm like looking at him, and I'm thinking to myself, did somebody bring their kid to this meeting? And then he starts looking up at Joe Abood, and he's like chirping in his ear, and I'm thinking like, well, it can't be a kid because he knows Joe, and Joe's smiling. Joe thinks it's funny. So I'm like, he must know Joe. So maybe it's this medical student. And then next thing you know, he's just like chirping to Jerry Williams. And, for those of you who don't know that, he's a very famous shoulder surgeon, and he's got Jerry's ear. I'm like, I just don't get it. It's not processing. So finally I just walk up and I'm like, who are you? And he goes, I'm Danny Acevedo. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm like, oh my God. All right. So we start chatting. I'm like, at that moment, I knew that I needed more of this guy in my life. And so here we are a few years later and starting a podcast. So what else could we do?
That's funny. So for those who don't know, Joe Abood and Jerry Williams are probably one of the most prominent shoulder surgeons in the country right now. I mean, they're all over the place on social media, in our shoulder surgeon, our little community, and so they're kind of a big deal. So yeah, Sharif didn't know that I was in the right circles. So it's funny that he mentioned that. I'm not trying to dog you, but like, I don't really remember you from Atlanta, so that's not kind of how I remember us meeting. I remember meeting you in Miami, right? So we were at Shoulder 360, and we were at the faculty dinner, and I see this guy, and he's got like a man bun, and I'm kind of, everybody who knows me knows I'm kind of swaggy. I like to kind of dress nice and wear accessories, wear spiky shoes with red bottoms. So I see this guy over there, and he's got this really dope watch, and it looked like a house on his wrist. And I walked over to him and I grabbed his wrist. I said, "Is this a Richard Mille watch?" And then at that point I took it off, and I was like, "Hey, I'm Danny Acevedo." And he's like, "I know who you are." And then, obviously the watch was fake because doctors can't really afford those kind of watches. So he still tells me it's real.
Canal Street, New York City, baby.
Yeah. So then, we pretty much got together. I wanted to do a podcast, and then he hit me up and he's like, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" And I was like, I was actually thinking about that. So we're here now, and we're going to be doing this podcast, and we're already having a lot of fun, and we're going to have some special guests on to be a part of our bullshitting. And we got a really nice special guest today. A lot of you guys may know him. You want to do a little intro, Sharif?
Yeah, we could do an intro. So this guy, kind of same story. Like when I first met him, it was at that Miami meeting and for Shoulder 360. And when I met him, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is that resident that is a rapper. And so I'm waiting for this like larger than life personality, and I turn around and I'm like, oh my god, hey Cameron, what's going on? He's like, hey dude, and I was like, and that
So
kind of is like what we're talking about tonight, that the alter egos. And so he's got some amazing stuff on his Instagram with like just like parodies of songs that kind of break it down for what it's like to be a doctor. I do want to bust his balls a little bit about like switching genres, and now he's doing Morgan Wallen, he's doing some country. So what's next? I mean, I can't keep up with all that's happening. So Kamran Hamid is going to join us later on in the episode. But I'm really excited to talk to him, just like social media, the alter egos of what we do as surgeons, and just about life in general, what it's like sitting as not only a rap star, but as chief medical officer of a hospital.
yeah, so he's going to be great. And just so everybody knows, we're doctors, right? We're probably not going to talk about a lot of doctor shit. We're going to talk about shit that doctors talk about, if that makes sense. So you're going to hang out with us, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But like I said, you might learn something on accident, which would be good. And we are going to talk about some of the stuff that's pertinent. We mentioned Shoulder 360 a couple times, and then we talked about that's where we met. So for all you orthopedic people out there, for all you residents out there, even medical students out there who are interested in orthopedics and shoulder and elbow surgery, we have a really dope meeting in Miami. It's called Shoulder 360, and this year it's going to be May 2nd through the 4th. Look them up online, shoulder360.org. So that's my plug. That's the educational portion of this podcast, and we're going to proceed now to have fun.
Well, hold on. Well, if you did Shoulder 360, I'm gonna do one as well. So the Orthopedic Summit is coming up next month in September in Boston. So orthosummit.com, and it's by my mentor Kevin Plancher. I remember when I was in fellowship, I'm scared to say 17, almost 18 years ago. He was telling me, I'm going to do this meeting. And he always has these grandiose ideas. And he's like, it's going to be the biggest meeting. It's going to have everything there. And I'm like, okay, all right, whatever. And, lo and behold, a few years later, he nailed it. And it's year 13. So it'll be pretty exciting to be there in Boston. It's kind of gone back and forth between Boston and Vegas. I think next year going back to Vegas. So a lot of great meetings out there. So again, orthosummit.com.
Yeah. There's been a bit of a COVID's over now, so we're back in full swing, right? So, it's safe to go to meetings now. There's people like us there. We're having fun. It's really interesting to go to all these orthopedic meetings to meet people, right? You can meet me, you can meet Sharif or whoever you want to hang out with. But, networking is back, everybody. So, try to go to these meetings and be a part of our community, whatever community you're involved in. But definitely had to put the plug in for that.